Hello and welcome to ABG Sundal Collier Pre-IPO seminar. My name is Olof Cederholm and I'm the sector lead on the industrial and renewable research team in Stockholm. With me today I have Jenny Keisu, the CEO of Aktier. With that I'll just hand over to you, Jenny, and we can go ahead with the presentation.
Thank you for having me, Olof. So if you can flip the slide, you can look at me instead of our boat, but you have the boat there as well. So I'm Jenny Keisu. I'm the CEO of Aktier and have been over the last couple of years. I started my career as a business lawyer with Mannheimer Swartling, working predominantly with private and public M&A, and I've spent the last 10 years in the private equity industry. I was with Nordic Capital for quite a few years, but then I ventured on to be part of the team who founded Summa Equity, a private equity fund focusing on sustainable investments. So I've been doing this for quite some time, and I think this is an amazing case to invest in, hence why I'm involved. So if we flip to the next slide, you'll see what I mean. So I think we should be able to show a video here. If you want to go back and try again.
There you go. No.
In the land of the brave, in our fearless state, there's a wild heart running away. I let my ship drift, I can navigate within. There's a place where dreamers collide. Can you guide me?
Thank you. Hopefully you got a better sense of our product now, and it is an incredible user experience. And this is the predominant reason, of course, why we're growing so fast. So to explain in briefly, because after having seen that movie, you probably think we're a boating company. We're not. We're a technology company in the recreational boating industry, and we're a front runner. So we have the first mover advantage. I get one call per week with other companies asking if they can buy our drivetrain. That's how good we are, because we've cracked the code as to how to go both far and fast. So most electrical boating company, they make boats that can go slow but far. So 12 knots is fairly fast for an electric boat. 15 knots is very fast. Our boat can easily, you can use that as a normal boat. You can go out wakeboarding, you can go out to play with your friends. You can go fast if you want to, up to 35 knots. And if you go in lower speeds, you can go on for more than 20 hours. And this is the reason why we are the leader in this field. Our boats have outstanding performance, as I mentioned. We also have new proprietary technology that is both for our B2C customers, but also we built a lot of software entailing that we have B2B and even B2G clients. And by B2G, I mean business to government. So quite a few of our customers are smart cities that can look at all the boats at the same time. Since the boat is connected at all times, 24/7, we download 150 data points per second, and we have quite advanced software on that. The design is built for manufacture, entailing that we have a scalable and modular design. We recently raised capital to set up our second production facility in Sweden. And here we will make boats much faster than anyone else. I will get back to that. But a hull is normal in this industry, built in 10 days. Or 10 days or a bit more, I should say. I think best class in world at the moment is 8 days, and we are going to make ours in 2 days very soon. So scalable and modular design. We can change anything in the boat. We can change a battery. The modules come on and off. The whole system is designed so that we can shift the battery, not only for an exactly the same battery, we can also shift to another type of battery, and we don't need to rewrite the code based on that. So all of this is to say that we built a company that is leading in its industry. We have lots of software on top of that, scalable and modular design, and this is why we're growing so fast. If we can flip to the next slide, please. So key investment highlights. I mentioned we are the front runner, and we are really riding on the wave of all the mega trends here. Just yesterday, the USA came out and said that they will have tax subsidized for electrical boats, even more so if they are built in the US. We will be building our boats in the US within the next 12 months as well. Currently only building in Sweden. We have Amsterdam being fully fossil-free in 2025, Norway in 2026. This is happening fast. We have also an amazing product. I'll get back to that in a minute, with unique customer experience. And this is, the same reason if you've been in a Tesla or an electric car for the first time. It's an amazing experience. The reason why you're shifting is not because you want to go green. It's because the user experience is so good, it makes it difficult to go back. We have the same. Also diversified revenue streams, hardware being the boat is of course the largest one, but we have software as a service, we have recurring revenues, etc. We have a strong diversified team. I've done similar journeys before, built up companies, made them hugely successful, so have quite a few of my colleagues. We are a team of just north of 50 people, most of us working out of central Stockholm, but we also have a team on the ground in, for example, the US. So from my perspective, having been an investor for 10 years, this is an attractive case, and hopefully you will agree with me after having looked at this presentation. Next slide. Sustainable boating is here to stay. This is just to tell you how much recreational boating is impacting on climate crisis. For example, our 3 months of recreational boating during summertime in Sweden equals to a full year, 30% of a full year of domestic flights in terms of CO2 emissions. Going by your recreational boat during the 3 summer months is equivalent to 3.5 years of car usage, etc. So this is one of the reasons why we're seeing so much legislation at the moment. If we go to the next slide. So you can debate how quickly we will have the transition from traditional combustion engine boats to electrical boats. You can debate the same within the car industry. What we can say is that it will grow. Difficult to say if it will grow as fast or as much as it's done within the automotive sector. However, I'm here to tell you that if you can build an electric boat, you will be able to sell it. We were the first one to offer CE certified boats. Doesn't matter. Everyone that can build an electric motor boat is going to sell it. So you can see how small portions of the market we need to take. I'm not sure who will take the rest because there aren't many out there and the market is huge. This is why we have so much demand. We need to put up new factories. We sell much more than we can produce. So you don't have to believe in a crazy uptick or expansion of this segment, even if most do. You can for sure supply everything you can build. That's how it looks like and will for the next couple of years. Also, an interesting change aside from the electrification part is, of course, that most things go online now, not only based on COVID, but based on the fact that customers changed their behavior. So Volvo Cars a few weeks or now a couple of months back, I think, they announced that they will, as of 2030, only sell electric cars, and they will only sell those online. We, of course, think that this is hugely interesting, also because we're so big online. We are already now the biggest electric boat brand online, but we're number 8 of all brands in total in the boating industry, not just electric. So we, of course, welcome this change. If we look at the next slide. So this is to tell you a bit about our boat. You saw the video. We have outstanding performance and speed. You can play along with a wakeboard or water skis or similar for a couple of hours. You can also go for more than 20 hours in lower speed. You have absolutely no fumes since the boat is electric, and no noise. So it's very powerful. We have an amazing acceleration. You go out, you can only hear wind and water. You need to try this product. It's an amazing experience. We have a unique and modular design. So the boat that we're currently selling, you can see this on the slide. It's called Elex. And everything you see here on the back of the boat is modular. So you see one of my colleagues here, Jens, he's out fishing. He uses one of the sofas and then the fishing bench. You can also see a social setting on the top, which is 2 sofas and a table, and that can convert into a sunbed. We have diving modules, etc. This works like an SUV, so you can clip them on, clip them off, so you can have the boat bare, you can have it with different modules, so it's very versatile. We have new proprietary software, not only the drivetrain, but also the fact that the boat is always connected. We always download data points, entails that there's no outboard motor to steal. It's impossible to steal the boat. We can turn it off or shut it down. Wherever the boat is in the world, we can always see where it is. So this makes it highly interesting from a perspective that no one can steal your boat. Sustainability for us is 3 things. One is, of course, that we're not harming the environment while we're out in it. We don't emit any fumes. We don't emit noise. Also, we try to build our boat out of sustainable materials. We use recycled plastic instead of plastic. We use cork instead of teak. We can even build the boats out of flax fiber instead of glass fiber in order to make them sustainable. On top of that, we want to build our boats in a sustainable way, which is the reason why we're setting up our second factory in Sweden now, which will not have any emission that you will typically see based on what you're producing. So most boat factories, there are people in more or less hazmat suits with breathers walking around. It smells a lot. You will not see that in our factory. Everything is done in climate controlled boxes with active filters in order to make our workers safe, so as the environments. If we flip to the next slide, this is to show you the software in our drivetrain. So first of all, you have embedded in Canvas. That's very much like you have in cars. Then the NMEA 2000 system is what you have in boats. That's how you connect radar and other things that you typically have on a boat. That is connected to the web and then the cloud, entailing that if you are a private individual, you can see where your boat is, you can see the state of charge, whether the pumps are going, you can ring fence it. You can do much of those over laptop, your cell phone, or even your smartwatch. We also have the boating control tower that you can see on the high up on the right hand side of this presentation. Boating control tower is what our B2B or B2G customers are using. Then they can see all the boats, not only one. They can see where they are. They can communicate in between the boats. There's booking system. You can plan routes and charging, etc. So this is sort of the secret sauce in what we do. Most of the hardware in the boat, well, some are developed by us because the brackets need to be built a certain way, but most of it you can buy anywhere. The secret sauce is how you put it together, hence the software. If we flip to the next slide, this is also on top of that, we have lots of cool IoT features. This is my smartwatch. This starts my boat. The boat feels that I'm coming closer. It gets in standby mode. I only push a button to have the boat start, very much like a modern car. If I fall overboard, the boat can sense that I'm either too far away or that I'm underwater, and then it shuts the boat down. It works like a man overboard or a dead man's grip. We of course have the mobile, and this is a screenshot of how it looks like when you can see your boat where it is and different dashboards. If we flip to the next slide. So I mentioned we're currently selling the ELEX. We launched that and started to selling it to customers since we got the CE certification, which was in 2020. We are selling that one. We're selling much more than we can produce, and hence the reason why we are now setting up our second factory in Sweden. We're already now looking at the factory in the US because we see such a big demand since we launched there in March this year. Early next year, we will also launch a cabin version. This will be on the same platform, so same drivetrain, similar hull, but we put a cabin on top of it. This will be the world's first electric cabin boat. Slightly more complicated, slightly more expensive than the one we're having. And then late next year, we will be out with a 6-meter boat, which will be much more like a boat you can buy for the first time. Some think that 8 meters or 9 meters is a very large boat if you don't have any boating experience at all. 6 meter is more for everyone, and it would also be much more affordable because by then we will have our factory up and running. We can produce boats at a much more attractive value, and also we will be able to source more efficiently than we can today with our current volumes being in a scale-up mode. If we flip to the next slide, this is just to show you that we have very diversified revenue streams. Most of what we have today is hardware, and that is what we're counting on. However, we have also revenues from alarm system, insurance. The insurance companies, of course, love insuring this boat since it literally cannot be stolen. We download a lot of data. We have partnerships with boat sharing companies, etc. We have extended services and warranties. We've actually turned that into a revenue center. So this is just to say, and I can give you an example. One of my B2G customers, being a smart city, we charge them $9,000 per year per boat for the software as a service solution that we're providing them with. So we have lots of those revenue streams as well. So it's not just a hardware company, not just a boating company. If we flip to the next slide, this is just to show you I have a crazy experienced team. Most of them are engineers, many from very successful ventures before, many of them from the traditional boating industries as well. So super proud of my team, much more like a startup than a classical boating company. If you flip to the next slide, is also to show you, I mentioned our new factory where we will have industrial robots, assembly line, sustainable production products. We design for manufacturing, entailing that it is our supply chain people that decides what goes into the boat, not the engineers, and hence that takes down our bill of materials quite significantly. And when we've set up the factory in the second factory in Sweden fully, that's on the way now, we will have a blueprint, and then we will set the exactly same factory up in different places in the world. Second one will be in the United States. And if we flip to the next slide, this just to conclude, we are the front runner in this highly interesting, quickly growing field of electric leisure boating. All regulation and similar are playing in our favor, but we don't need that because we have an amazing customer experience. We have much more demand that we can supply, even with our new factory. We have diversified revenue streams. We have an amazing team that has done this before. And last but not least, it is a highly interesting financial case. So that was the last thing I wanted to say. So if you show the next slide, I believe this shows that I'm done. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Jenny. A few questions, if I may. It's demand seems to not to be the problem, so to speak. What are the obstacles now for you to grow? You said a US plant in 12 months. Is that going to be enough? And although you recently did the pre-IPO with ABG, what are your plans for further financing help? Are you looking at an IPO, or what's the thought process there?
Yes, so the idea is to go for an IPO within the next 12 months, and that is what we're working towards at the moment. We have, as you mentioned, more demand than we can supply. So the current headache is getting the new factory in Sweden up as quickly as possible. Recruiting is another, I wouldn't say obstacle, but it takes time. I mean, how we could grow as fast as we can. However, the difficult piece is to get the right people in place, right? So we're currently hiring somewhere between 1 and 3 people per week. I cannot hire faster than that. I cannot find the right talent faster than that. We've been very fortunate with being able to find robots, operators, CNC operators, etc. But these are tricky people to find. So for now, that's fine, but it's difficult to grow that fast.
Yeah, of course. And looking at a timeline on your expansion, you said you're really pushing to get the second factory done in Sweden. When is that reasonable? You know, when could that happen? And then also in the US, where are you looking at in terms of locations?
So in Sweden, we are in process. We're already buying the machinery and the robots. Everything is in process. We believe we would have the production line fully up and running in November this year. So in December, we should have an output of that factory of 400 boats per year. So very much be ready for next year in line with our case. So that should be fine. If you look at US, we're currently in dialogues with several states. And the reason why we haven't contracted or decided yet is because so much is moving in terms of legislation and subsidized. So we have really interesting dialogues with 6 states that have approached us because they want us to come there and to build their boats there. We are now debating whether we will have an assembly line first or a full-blown factory. We want to have the factory in Sweden done, because when you build your house, you know exactly how you would do the second time. So we'll have that ready before we set a full-blown factory up. We're now looking into whether we should have an assembly line in the meantime. It will be assembly hulls being made externally and our drivetrain.
Yeah. And thinking about the drivetrain, you mentioned that you get incoming calls from people wanting to buy the drivetrain from you. How is that? Is that patented, or how do you protect the product sort of?
So it is a code. So I protect it through making sure that my developers do not want to go anywhere else. But it's also dynamic, as I mentioned. If we are changing a battery, the code changes a bit. So it's code, hence we have not gone for patents. This area moves so quickly so that we don't think it's worthwhile protecting it from that perspective. In a few years, every boat sold will be electric one way or another. We're just 3 to 5 years ahead of everyone. So that's having said that, you could also, of course, sell your drivetrain, but from my perspective, do you want to do what Apple has done and have that product, or do you want to do what Android has done? And we have decided we need to focus on getting up capacity. We need to build the boats. So that's what we are focusing on, selling and building boats. We're not selling our drivetrain.
Excellent. And my last question on the revenue streams. I mean, it's the add-on services look very interesting. How do you foresee sort of your sales or revenue streams a few years out? Let's say you have the second factory is up, there is one in the US, so you have a good sort of solid volume of hardware. How much do you think software could generate in that, and recurring revenues could generate in sort of a more mature situation?
So to make it easy for us, we're actually not counting on any other revenues than the hardware, and still the case is super interesting. That makes it very easy for us. We already now have lots of recurring revenue and software as a service, but I also want to be able to add us on when we have huge contract with states or similar, so that we add the software for free. So for now, which we do sometimes and sometimes not. So we want to have that to be able to put it on. So for now, that's icing on the cake. But if you ask me, I think you can look at Tesla to some extent, at least, where you can, you can decide whether you want to have the autopilot or the auto driving or something like that. We can probably have a similar setup if we want to, but I would say that that is 5 years out to get there. So for now, I'm not even counting on it.
Very good. With that, thank you very much, Jenny, for taking the time to spend it with us and to talk about this exciting company. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Olof. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.